Yo, what is up guys? Delboy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. So, Teofimo Lopez defeats Josh Taylor by a 12-round unanimous decision to win the WBO Super Lightweight title and winning the 140 lineal title, I believe. Teofimo Lopez now two-weight lineal champion. So congrats to Teofimo Lopez. Now going into this fight, both guys were kind of looked down upon by a lot of boxing fans, and for good reason. Josh Taylor had that fight with Jack Catterall where most people felt he lost, including myself. He looked horrible, didn't perform well. Plus, on top of that, he got stripped of his titles, or most of his titles, apart from the WBO belt. So yeah, Josh Taylor going into this fight inactive. His last fight, he looked really bad. So yeah, he wasn't really on the tip of boxing fans' tongues. And the same goes for Teofimo Lopez. Of course, he had that shock defeat to George Kambosos, where he lost his lightweight titles. Since then, he's came back, had a couple of fights. Looked okay against Pedro Campa, but against Sandor Martin, a guy who was running, by the way, he didn't look good. Actually got dropped in that fight as well. I felt he won that fight, by the way. But both guys coming off bad performances, both guys not showcasing the form that took them to the very top of their respective divisions. And going into this fight, I felt that aspect made this bout really interesting. And I'll tell you this right now, Teofimo Lopez has just regained all of his momentum. I try not to rely on these superlatives, but to me he looked sensational. Career best performance by Teofimo Lopez, and he proves, you know, when he's switched on, when he's concentrated, when he's calm, when he's relaxed, we're looking at a hell of a fighter, a really talented fighter, a guy who picks punches really well, a guy who can hit hard, who can counter, who's got good timing, who's creative in there, makes it fun to watch. Lopez is a guy who, and I said this after the Kambosos fight, that wasn't due to Lopez not being good enough, that loss. That was due to Lopez taking his eye off a ball, fighting a dumb fight, getting in his feelings. You guys know my opinions on that fight. Lopez lost it, Kambosos didn't win it, if you catch my drift. And I think this performance just proves that against Josh Taylor, how good Lopez was. Now, I know some are going to say, well, Josh Taylor was flat, maybe he's struggling with weight, and I speculated that going into this fight in regards to the weight. And, you know, that very well may have had a factor in this bout. But I felt Taylor looked pretty good on the scales in comparison to his previous fights. I felt he looked pretty good on the scales. Looking at him in the ring, it looked like he rehydrated well. One of the factors I noticed in this fight was the power of Teofimo Lopez. Taylor was getting caught repeatedly throughout this fight, and despite him going behind as the rounds progressed, to me, Taylor looked reluctant to really take those risks, to drag himself back into the fight. And we've seen that from Taylor. We've seen that energy. We've seen that never say die attitude. We saw that against Prograis. That was a back and forth fight. Taylor took some big punches in that bout, but it never deterred him like that. We've seen Taylor go through tough moments in various fights, and he always fires back. But in this fight with Teofimo Lopez, Lopez domesticated him, to be honest. He domesticated him. Now, is that a power differential between the likes of Lopez and Prograis? I wouldn't say so. I would say they hit equally as hard, in and around the same ballpark in terms of punching power. I just think maybe now Josh Taylor, he's made some money, he's been undisputed champion. Does he want it as much as he used to want it? Maybe not. I think that may have been a factor for Taylor in this fight. Because Taylor pre-undisputed may have walked through a lot more in this fight to get to Teo. Do you know what I mean? I think he would have taken more risks. But that's credit to Teofimo for putting Taylor in his place. And he was getting really creative with his offense in this fight. And low-key, not to try and pat myself on the back, but I always like to see fighters kind of follow things that I said in the prediction videos. When it comes to my prediction videos, I like to give advice to each fighter, what they should do to stand the best chance of winning. Obviously, they're not going to listen, I get that. But I was earmarking the uppercut in this fight. Josh Taylor is open for that shot, man. And Teo was picking some beautiful uppercuts throughout this fight. He really was. He also exposed Taylor's porous guard. Even when Taylor tried to use the high guard, Teo would split it with his right hand. Sometimes he'd disguise that right hand with a quick jab. Sometimes he'd lead with a right hand. Just beautiful variation from Teofimo Lopez with his power shots and his counter shots. And yeah, Teo's ring generalship in this fight was excellent, I felt. When this fight was fought at any real distance, I felt Teofimo was just way in control. And we speculated that in the prediction. I said that Taylor obviously had to close the gap and get in the pocket, collapse the pocket, and make it a rough fight on Teo. He could never do that. And I said in my prediction, if both of these guys are on the outside, don't be shocked if Lopez outboxes Josh Taylor. I didn't expect him to beat Taylor up quite like that, because that's what happened in my opinion. I felt this fight was one-sided. How many rounds did Taylor win? 3 rounds maybe? I felt Taylor started okay in the first couple of rounds, had some success in those rounds. Round 10, he had a bit of a shout. You know, Teo kind of took round 10 off. But for me, this fight was one-sided. Teofimo outboxed, outfoxed, beat up, landed for better punches, moved better, better defense. He was better than Taylor in every single aspect. Better speed, better power. Teo was just better, and he put it all together against Taylor in a remarkable performance. Teo's best performance in his career, without a shadow of a doubt, as far as I'm concerned. And yeah, it's reinvigorated Teo. I'm excited about Teo again. I really am. When you look at 140, there are some great fights for him. Teofimo Lopez versus Regis Prograis. Jesus Christ, lads, that's a good fight. That's a good fight. You've got Teofimo Lopez versus Subriel Matias. Excellent fight. Even Teofimo versus Jose Ramirez is a good fight in my opinion. There's some good fights for Teo. What if Devin Haney moves up? Big pay-per-view. Teofimo versus Devin Haney. Excellent fight. And I'll say this right now, by the way. A couple of years ago, there was talks of the 4 Kings. Ryan Garcia, Tank Davis, Devin Haney, and Teofimo Lopez. I always found that talk ridiculous, quite frankly. But if you're asking me who's on top of those 4 right now, it's Teofimo Lopez, 2-weight lineal champion. That's how I see it anyway. But credit to Teofimo to come back. You know, he's been doubted now for a while, including by myself, by the way. I've doubted Teofimo and his mentality. I've always rated his ability, his talent, his athleticism, his power. But you know, it's just his mentality that's always worried me in regards to Teo. But it goes to show once again, when Teofimo Lopez is on it, he's really on it. He's a damn good fighter when he's fully focused. And, you know, this is the Teo that we need to see going forwards on a consistent basis. And if we get that, the guy's only going to get better. He's, 25 years old? So the future is looking bright for Teofimo. As for Josh Taylor, I'll be honest, I think this is a hard loss to come back from. To me, he's got no future at 140. He was talking about a rematch, but to me this fight was too one-sided. I've got no interest in a rematch whatsoever. Taylor needs to go to 147, in my opinion. But does he have success in that weight class? In my opinion, no. I can't see Taylor beating the likes of Spence and Crawford. And even the guys coming up like Jaron Ennis and Virgil Ortiz, I think these are bad fights for Taylor. If I'm Josh Taylor, if I'm managing Josh Taylor, I go to 147 and I call for a Conor Benn fight. That's what I would target if I was Josh Taylor. One last domestic payday and call it a day. But yeah, that is what it is. Share your thoughts below. It's been your guy Del Boy. Peace.